Now, WikiLeaks continues to release more and more emails from John Podesta. Now, one of them released last week that I didn't get to appears to show a former Citigroup executive advising President Barack Obama on his cabinet picks. Now, this email is from a man named Michael Froman. Now, here's some details about Michael Froman. Now, he had served as chief of staff to a man named Robert Rubin when he was the Secretary of Treasury in the Clinton administration. Now, if you didn't know, Rubin was one of the instrumental architects of the repeal of the Glass-Steagall Act. Now, Glass-Steagall, of course, famously set a separation between investment and commercial banking. Now, with that removed, investment banks can use your money to gamble on Wall Street. So, of course, that's not a popular bill. Now, after 3 years in the Clinton administration, Rubin left the Treasury Department to go work at, of course, Citigroup, who was later a beneficiary of the gigantic bank bailouts. I've got more on that later. Now, Froman followed Rubin to Citigroup, where he served as the chief operating officer of Citi Alternative Investments and later as a managing director of Citi Infrastructure Investors, a unit of Citi Alternative Investments. So, look, he went into government with Robert Rubin. He went out of government with Robert Rubin into the private sector to work for Citigroup and eventually became, a former Citigroup executive. So that's kind of the history of Michael Froman. Now, I want to read you the email from WikiLeaks to Barack Obama. He writes, Barack, following up on your conversation with John over the weekend, John Podesta attached are 2 documents. A list of African American, Latino, and Asian American candidates divided between candidate deputy and under assistant deputy assistant secretary levels, as well as lists of senior Native Americans, Arab, Muslim Americans, and disabled Americans. We have longer lists, but these are candidates whose names have been recommended by a number of sources for senior level jobs in a potential administration. A list of women similarly divided between candidates for cabinet deputy and other senior level positions. Please let us know if you have any questions. Signed, Mike Froman. So first, reading that, I do kind of want to give a little credit here before I lay into them. Okay. Now, the list, it looks pretty diverse. I mean, they've got everyone there. African Americans, Latinos, Asian Americans, Native Americans, disabled people as potential members of an Obama administration. Well, that sounds great. That actually sounds very lovely. More diversity. See, that's not the bad part. The bad part is this is evidence that a big banker played a role in choosing key staff members in a presidential administration. In fact, the New Republic reported that on October 6, 2008, Froman sent John Podesta an outline of top cabinet positions. These cabinet positions were to be filled by certain people that were outlined in these other emails. Now, David Dayen, writing for the New Republic, wrote that the cabinet list ended up being almost entirely on the money. It correctly identified Eric Holder for the Justice Department, Janet Napolitano for Homeland Security, Robert Gates' Defense, Rahm Emanuel for Chief of Staff, Peter Orszag for the Office of Management and Budget, Arne Duncan for Education, Eric Shinseki for Veterans Affairs, Kathleen Sebelius for Health and Human Services, Melody Barnes for Domestic Policy Council, and more. So, of one of the lists that he was sent by John Froman, Barack Obama picked almost exactly every single one of these people that Froman wanted him to pick. Interesting. Now, that is not an accident. You see, Citigroup, Goldman Sachs, and JP Morgan were among Obama's top donors for his 2008 presidential election. Together, they gave nearly $2 million to his presidential campaign. Now, Froman himself bundled anywhere from $200,000 to $500,000 for President Obama's bid for the White House. So, of course, when you give so much money to a presidential campaign, you usually get something in return. So, what was that? Well, in addition to getting the bailouts, remember, this is why Froman was a chief executive at Citibank. that bank received an additional $20 billion in equity from the federal government, asset guarantees of more than $300 billion on toxic assets, and it was secretly receiving billions of dollars in low-cost loans from the Federal Reserve, often called the backdoor bailouts. But of course, that isn't all. Earlier in Obama's first term, after he had been elected, Froman was appointed as Deputy Assistant to the President and Deputy National Security Advisor for International Economic Affairs. Today, Froman is still in government as the U.S. Trade Representative and the man behind the Trans-Pacific Partnership. Gee, no, I wonder why we were so soft in the banks, and I wonder why President Obama is so aggressive in pushing the TPP. I wonder. I also wondered why he came out and said, hey man, on the banks, we look forward, we don't look backwards. Why? Well, it's because him and the entire administration were banker approved. And again, this is the guy that wants to bring us the Trans-Pacific Partnership. Now, tell me again how money doesn't corrupt politics. He gives Obama legal bribes, and not only does his company get bailed out, he also gets his cabinet picks approved, and now is the U.S. Trade Representative who's ended up pushing up the disastrous Trans-Pacific Partnership deal that's going to help corporations immensely. This is corruption. This is pay for play. This is a sick, disgusting system that we have. And that we had before. Remember, all of this happened before Citizens United. Citizens United happened in 2009. Or 2010, sorry. But this was in 2008. Well, what are you talking about? The Hillary Clinton campaign would like to make us think that corruption didn't happen pre-Citizens United. That's why there's always that focus, Citizens United. We got to overturn Citizens United. We already had a corrupt system before that. Now, Citizens United, true, put it on steroids because it created super PACs. It basically put our corruption on steroids. But before, we still had a problem. And of course, look, as I said, Hillary Clinton wants us to forget about that whole thing. Establishment Democrats, they want us to forget the whole thing. They want to forget about the corruption, but it's there. It's there. And of course, it's uncovered by Wikileaks. That's why they hate Wikileaks, by the way. That's why they hate Julian Assange. That's why Hillary Clinton made what she says, a joke about possibly droning Julian Assange. That's why they hate it. That's why they're talking about the Russians. Oh, these are Russian emails. No, these emails are legitimate. They haven't come out and said these emails are completely illegitimate. They would have said that the first day that they came out. No, those don't match our emails. Sorry. Those actually aren't ours. They haven't. Now they're blaming the Russians for it. This is why. Because it shows all the corruption inside, not only a Democratic, administration. Look, if they looked into it, if they had George W. Bush's hacked emails, you don't think they would find systemic corruption? Of course they would. Because it's endemic in the system. We have two parties right now that are wholly and completely corrupt. The Republicans more so, but also the Democrats. And that's why they hate Assange. That's why they hate WikiLeaks. That's why they hate whistleblowers. Because they come out and they say what's actually going on. They show us what is actually going on. And how people really attain power. And of course, it always comes back to the money. Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more like this, please hit the subscribe button below. And if you want to support truly independent, non-corporate media, go to our Patreon page and become a patron. Patreon.com/TYTNation.